Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Terrence Barker of Image Audio Solutions, and today I have the privilege of sharing with you some knowledge and also the team on some things that we've done during the past few years in production and how it can help and transform your house of worship in audio and video. Stay tuned as we dive into the conversation. Joining with me in this discussion, my brothers, my friends, we all work together. They're all a part of the Image Audio Solutions family and team. I have TC, Mr. Terrence Charles, right? You could IG him. He has a company called Gospel Unplugged. Yeah. Also got my brother, my other close friend, Mr. Adasafi Paris, right? That's going to be joining the conversation on production. Right, and I have Mr. Dale Marshall with me. This man needs no introduction at all, right, guys? This guy is
not at all.
This guy is at the top of everybody. Right now, his phone is ringing as we having this conversation. You guys on the camera can't see it, but I can say, Mr. Dale Marshall. You can follow him at Dale the Creative. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Dale the Creative.
Yeah.
And today we're just going to be sitting down and talking about church and production, really, I'll be hosting this discussion. So these guys are on the hot seat, right? I'm not answering anything. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to be answering some questions and sharing my little bit of knowledge I've acquired within the last month of production, of working in production. Right, but let's just open it. Let's open it up, man. Like, what do you do? What do you guys do? Who is TC?
All right, that's a Pandora's box, but I'll make it super simple. So
first day of school.
Excuse me.
First
day of school, right? So
what's your name? What do you like to do?
Favorite color.
Your favorite color, and that's it.
So I do a variety of things. Somebody's like, I'm an artist as well, but I'm not an artist. But currently, I serve as a worship director, music director, artist consultant. I'm a creative. That's just like the best way to explain it. But my passion for what I do lies within the church. I want to see the church, especially on a technical, on a production level. I want to see the church succeed and be at its best. So I rather pull my resources and do it there.
Cool. This man has a list, right? So now you know what the C stands for in TC. It's Terrence the Creative. Right? Forget his last name, it's just the Creative, right? And now we have, let's switch it up, man. Let's go to Dale. Who is Dale?
Wow. Stop. I'm not following Dale.
Wow.
I don't even want to follow TC.
Yeah.
But he kind of,
Okay, all right. So
TC got his elevator pitch all the way down.
Yeah, he's good.
So let me just say that I agree with him a lot of things that he said in terms of I do see production, especially in this day and age, taking a tremendous step forward in the church's impact and the reach that it can have on the world. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of skills that I have acquired that I feel I can help from working with Terrence on Image Audio Solutions. And we've seen a lot of churches and we've seen a lot of things that churches are doing really well and some things that they can tweak to really get themselves ready for that next digital age that we're about to enter in, right? So
what do you do?
So what do? I help churches communicate their message.
I like that.
With technology, right?
This man got that. See what y'all not seeing is the 5 takes I have to say my name, right? But this guy came prepared.
Yeah, that was good. I was really good. All right. So first question, what's up?
So who is Dale Marshall?
All right. So simply put, I'm a creative director. Have studied in Toronto, went to College for Computer Graphics. That's where it all started. And my plan was always to, whatever I have learned over the years, whether it's working for different companies or whatever the case may be, was always to be in a position where not only my local church, but the kingdom could benefit from. That's just how I feel.
Cool.
So for me, being a creative director, especially now in New York, is really just focusing on ministry projects and helping, like our friends here, just kind of helping churches to get or prepare them for the next level, that next stage, that that transitional period and stuff like that. So, creative director, that's it.
So we all talked about, are you guys, Safi and Dale touched on getting people prepared for the next level, right? So the first question I got, right, for you guys is, how do we manage our expectations? how do we do that?
I feel like you already got
You
it.
can.
Dale has the answer.
Yeah, don't be
Dale
modest.
is first up.
Don't be modest.
No, I like to talk. That's why I'm trying to be quiet.
The floor is yours, man.
No, I think we could, especially for church, or just this is general.
This
or-
is church and production.
church and production, right? So I think lots of times as creatives, we kind of put ourselves in positions or in a situation where we think where we allow our minds to go far without dealing with the reality of where we are, if that makes sense, right? For instance, we might kind of find ourselves in a smaller church congregation that might not have the resources to produce some of the things that we have in our minds, right? I had struggled with that early on. My expectations were always high for whatever reason. It's going to be great, it's going to be perfect, and all these different things. And then you meet with the reality of some ministries really don't have that cash or, whatever to kind of give you. So I would say it's a matter of really understanding what the ministry needs and just work with it from there, and then take it in steps and
And then take it in steps.
yeah.
I do think it's good though to have that end goal vision, that big goal. Mm-hmm. But it's a good point about grounding yourself in reality.
Yeah.
But as long as you have the big goal, it's like the roadmap, and you can always take those minor steps. Because at the end of the day, it's the minor steps over time that get you.
That's how you manage
Well,
expectations.
But I'm just saying, right? It's like if you just one foot in front of the other, right? So
Y'all being nice.
But the big goal, right? The big goal varies from establishment to establishment.
So I manage expectations based on your budget. Point blank period. Because in doing production work and getting anything done, it always comes down to dollars and cents.
Facts.
And so that's how I budget and manage the expectations. The budget you provide me, this is what we can do. And so what I do to manage those expectations is, one of my very close friends who also does, the same exact thing, he said, this is how the best way to manage the expectation. You provide 3 budgets of things that all do the same thing, but now each one is just like you have different tiers. And if they say, okay, we can do tier C, the high one, you know how to manage the expectation. If they say, we can only do tier A, you know how to manage that expectation. So you're not setting yourself up based on you put together this whole elaborate plan and it's just like, nah, we can't do that.
All they got is $10
Exactly.
slide across the table.
Exactly, and that's the best way to manage. For me, at least, that's how you manage the expectation. So, like, the other day we were texting, and he asked me, about a good entry level kit, and so, there's this one that came out by this company called Mapex, and it's a good kit for $1,000, but somebody's budget may be $500. Yeah. So, what's the expectation, based on the budget that's presented? So, that's how I manage expectations.
I got a question for you though. Do you believe that money solves all church production? Like if you Because you're tying expectations to money, and I get what you're saying, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
sometimes I feel like you can also feel that money, like if I throw money at that problem, it'll fix it.
See, that's a different conversation,
Okay.
right? Because now it's just like, okay, so again, managing the expectations. So you present the tiers, right? And they say, okay, we can do tier C. Okay, great, you can do tier C. Now, do you have the people in place that can handle the,
So you're
the
talking about
digital
follow-up questions.
There we go.
Right.
So now, okay, you want to buy a digital board? Perfect. Do you have somebody who's trained to use that equipment?
I'm with you now.
Now that's now the next step in managing the expectations. So if they say, "Oh, we can do this," okay, great. Okay, if you can do this, then there's other things that need to be incorporated in getting that done.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So like a Digico and a Behringer X32 is
Hey.
It's two different. You got your Honda Civic, and you got your
got your Bentley.
you got your Bentley of consoles there.
So money doesn't solve every.
All right, so Safi brought up a good point, right? Like throwing money at production is the answer to everything, right? So what do we invest in, right? That's my next question. Do we invest in equipment, or versus? You could say versus, or do we invest in people, right? How and where do we make? Dale is cringing at this question, right? How do we make the investment, right? Anybody can answer. Anybody can answer. I think for me, right? I think you gotta look at. This also goes along with managing the expectation, right? You gotta look at, find out like where the skill level of the staff is, right? Where's the skill level of the staff doing an honest evaluation? Sometimes we don't do an honest evaluation, right? In church, we try to, sweep it under the rug, be nice about everything, be polite. I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, right? And you can not hurt their feelings and you can be polite, but you still got to be honest, right? And said, does this person have the ability, like me growing up, my dad would never give me a car without having a driver's license, right? That's impossible. Because
When I got it.
even when I got the driver's license, this guy was still like next to me, slow down on the road, I think the first investment, at least this is for me, right? After we do the evaluation, then we take a look at investing in people first, getting them trained, getting them connected to. Dale drops his handle, Safi drops his handle, TC drops his handle for training and these sort of things, and getting them connected to the right people. Because 9 out of 10 times, like we were sitting out here chatting earlier, not knowing that we have very good mutual friends, right? You're connected at least, somewhere, somehow, somebody knows somebody that could get you the answer, And just like anything else, if you test the water and see, hey, this coach may not be for me. Let me try somebody else. But most times we find that, this isn't working. We gotta buy this for $5,000. We gotta buy this, and then you put it there, and then everybody is questioning, why is this not working?
I got some stories about that.
Share one. Share one.
So no, I was working at this church in Queens, and they upgraded their sound
Jamaica?
system. And so they upgraded the sound system, but even in upgrading the sound system, there were still some flaws, which is fine. But then again, like their church model was, we rather pay the musicians the bread that they're worth, and then we'll worry about, you know, the sound secondary. And so when I started working there and I realized that, I said, y'all can pay us what y'all want to pay us. That's fine. I said, but if we don't sound good, then you're literally just spending money in vain. I said, if you don't have somebody who knows how to, because the church had like a full band, there was like a horn section, everything. And it's just like, those guys sound great. Like, these are guys that play on Broadway. Like, they sound great. So if they're working at their hardest, playing great, but then it's not presented or communicated to the people in the congregation, then that's just a waste of their energy and their time.
Yeah.
You know, so that is what I mean. It's just like, you can buy something as you stated, but if you don't have the people, you know, running it or doing it, it may not translate in the way that you want it to. And so, you know, I think that's one of the things in, you know, I would say in Black church culture is that, you know, sometimes we want to have the latest and greatest, but as to the points that were made, it's just like, well, we're not bringing in the right people who know how to do it. We don't want to, you know, pay somebody to get the job done. It's just like another example that I have is, why buy a 88 key motif when the person who plays can only play Casio level?
That's a good point. Y'all should comment in the chat for that.
Like that's just like, and I feel like, you know, it's just like, oh, we want to have the latest and greatest, and that's great, but it's just like, you know, it comes to a point where it's just like, nah, like, save that bread. You know, if the person that's playing at that Casio level, take that $3,000, get them lessons.
Right.
Like, you got to start somewhere. And, you know, I think from working in, you know, church production, work music, work ministry, it's just sometimes there is no conception of the next step. It's just like, all right, we got this and we got it, and then it's done. Yeah. But it's just like, nah, like there's more to it. Like, it's just like there's more that can be done. It's just like, and I made a reference to, I've never worked at the church, but I filled in it from time to time. They bought up the Midas board. And I remember when they first bought that board, and I'm telling them, I'm just like, y'all know what y'all got? Like, there's so much things you can be doing with this great machinery, but just using it on the most basic level, might as well just get the Behringer X32. Like, yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, but there's so much more you can do with this. Like, don't waste the investment because, oh, we needed a new board, and so we just got, you know, what the person sold us. Like, no, that's not how it works. And I think that's a problem in, again, the Black church, the Black Caribbean church, is that we don't want to call on people to consult us into getting things done because, you know, we feel like we know what's best for our church. And it's just like, it's okay if you don't know the best. Like, anytime I have to buy gear, you know, just up to this week, I texted Terrence and I asked him some questions about some gear that I wanted to purchase because I don't know the ins and outs of that piece of gear, but I'm going to ask somebody who does. And if it's going to work for me, I'm going to buy it. And I bought it. So
I think that's really big. The point on the console, because I'm sitting here racing in my head about this question, people versus equipment, investing in people versus equipment. Mm-hmm. And I think it really comes down to getting consultation, right? Because a lot of times I think churches sometimes don't put their money in the right areas at the right time. Mm-hmm. Like, they might have somebody that's really gifted in this one particular area, and they should be investing as much in that person, in that skill. Mm-hmm. But the money might go to a different department or a different area. Mm-hmm. Right? Or sometimes, like, take that same person, and maybe it's not the person. Maybe the person already has the skills and they don't need to get training. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just getting that person the right equipment. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes that comes with bringing someone in who understands the whole bigger picture, and they can best. I think having advisors for production for churches is something that's
like a key thing,
because we've dealt with churches that are ready to spend significant money, and it's like, hold on, you actually might not need to spend all of this money
we go.
in this season. It's more so training and development that'll get you to the next step, right?
Yeah, that's so key.
So I think consultation and sometimes the answer is money, sometimes the answer is equipment. It really just depends on where you're at and what are the resources you have as a church.
What do you think, Dale?
That is true. I agree with everything that I said.
You ain't said nothing yet. You
No,
said,
like these guys. no, I agree. No, I'm thinking because it's such a big question, such a big topic. This one, particular, with churches and stuff like that. From my experience, right? Churches are very poor planners, right? And we have individuals that don't have any idea about a particular thing that's at the head of that particular thing. So me having a conversation, a conversation, right? You said it's a conversation.
That's a word right there.
Right? So for me, I've learned over the years to not have that conversation with that particular individual. Because I don't want to leave a church board meeting or anything like that being upset that brother X or sister G, Blue or whatever, can't understand why I'm saying X, Y, and Z.
So what do you do at that point? Who do you turn to?
This is what I do, and it's been working for me, is I get into, if I really want to help the church, I become a babysitter. And now I start coaching and taking them places and showing like, hey,
send them links,
educating them on a particular thing, right?
Yep.
And it's all steering to a particular vision or something like that, right? And in some cases, you go to a church and I like to start sometimes with pushing the envelope with the thinking. Say, hey, you know what? We could turn all of this into this, but this is what we need to do first.
There we go.
And then just kind of lay it out. But most times it's just babysitting, trying to help them to understand, hey, you need a Shure mic instead of the one on Flatbush, $30, 6 in the, is it 6 in the thing? Whatever.
That's
Exposure.
Now I'm gonna stop right there because
I'm gonna get you in trouble, right?
I'm gonna stop
All
right
right,
there.
so here it is. So we've been.
Before you, I just want to finish what you said.
You finishing it, right?
So he had the tongues, and now you bringing the interpretation of the tongues.
Here is and somebody might be offended by this statement, but it's the God's honest truth, right?
It's okay.
I've grown up in church my whole life. My parents are pastors, and I've seen it. And I'm West Indian, so that is the basis of my foundation when it comes to church. The problem within the West Indian church is this, especially smaller size churches, is that most people inside of these churches that hold prominent positions in the church, outside of the church, they really don't hold any position or anything of status or weight. So when they come into the church, right, it's now a point of, well, you know what? I got a little bit of power to throw around. Let me throw around this power a little bit.
They put down.
That's a
Yo, it's
put down,
and what's
that is
crazy
true.
is just like,
That is
as a kid who loves music, who, as a growing up, like I had like in my book bag every gear magazine that you could think of, right? And so like, when it's just like, all right, I see this, I know exactly, what we need. We need this, we need new speakers or whatever. And I'm just like, we need to upgrade, the woofers on these joints on these PV joints is blown, right? The spiders. Y'all remember them PV spiders? The whole, right? And just, they got power speakers now. We can upgrade to this. Well, that money, could go towards, something else.
Building fund.
What building fund? We've been doing this for 5 years. I mean, it's a sad reality. Like, this is what it's been, and I feel like those kinds of churches, those are the ones that when the pandemic happened, those were the ones that got left behind.
Yeah.
Those were the ones for all these years, they let the wrong, like you said, the wrong people make these decisions. When it's time for, to have full impact in your community, online and in the world, it's just like, where do we start?
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah.
and then it's just like, you know, and then it's
I
just
like
like
that. Full
I've
impact.
heard, you know, I've heard of churches in those predicaments have had to shut down because they haven't been able to keep up with the demand of keeping up online with
Yeah.
things and relating to putting the message of the gospel out.
So, like right there, right where you're saying, like we've been inside this pandemic 8 months coming. Over 8 months, right?
Next month is a year.
Next month is a year. Sorry, guys. I've been locked in. I've been locked in, right? With 2021, we're in it right now. What do we anticipate for 2020? Do you expect normalcy again, right? Do you expect normalcy again? And how you guys think, we know church has shifted, right? Into this post world, right? So I got 2 questions for y'all, right? What do we anticipate for 2021? And who really wins in production? Live production versus post production, right? Where you guys think that there's greater benefit? Of course, now with your live stuff, it's social distancing, there's minimal people. You won't get no stadium arena, but we're talking about church and production. So,
I think it varies. For me, post-production all the way. Especially for my church. Because now I'm able to control certain things that I don't need the general public to see on a regular basis, right? And it kind of helps you with your post-production to kind of have something of, I guess you could say, industry standard to put out. Right, because now we're reaching the masses, right? And the masses already know more than the church. So they're expecting quality from us. And most times we put no trash. So post-production for me works in my...
So you think before that the church used to put out trash
Yes.
and get away with it?
Yes.
1000%.
Yes.
I
Come
agree
on,
with
man.
that.
That's it. Oh, we'll fix that next week Sunday.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't work today? All right, don't worry.
And then COVID came and just kind of pushed everything 4 or 5 years forward. And now, you know, churches, like you said, now trying to figure it out. But post-production, for sure, it's kind of the safest way for to go, especially for ministries that might not have like a big production team. You might have like a 2-man, 3-man kind of set up, mic keys or whatever. Let's go post-production. Don't go live. You don't have what it takes. Comes back again to talking to the wrong individuals. You don't have what it takes to go live. Like, don't be stupid and do that. Like, don't make your church, your ministry, and the kingdom look crazy because you are not smart.
Yeah. And it goes back, you know, to when the pandemic happened, right? A lot of people, especially, you know, in our age demographic, right? They were watching, they went to the
20s?
church 20 years.
You ain't gonna put my age out there, brother. I'm still 21.
Okay. You know, a lot of us, including myself, we were watching other churches online. But now when the pandemic happened, it's just like a lot of people just like, yo, so you need to tell me I don't have to go to my church anymore, but I can actually watch you and not have to hide and watch it on Monday. I can watch it on Sunday, and I can give tithes to that church on a Sunday too. So it's just like, you know, it's a lot of things where it's just like those churches, they were at the benefit, and like you said, you know, the post-production aspect gives it more of a controlled feel. I think that it's, again, managing expectations, because now that church is live, you run into the risk of, you know, people that were coming to your church faithfully, they've probably found something else online.
But from various ministries, you know, that I follow and stuff like that, some have drafted into the post world, like Dale is saying, you know, he knows a lot of churches that drafted into the post world. But some churches haven't, right? Maybe because of the people or something. But I think sometimes the church is afraid, right? And they're stuck with what they used to. Let's do this live. This is how we know how to function live. And this is more of a comfort thing, right? It's easier this way, right? Because let's be honest, post is a lot of work.
Yeah, that's work. Come on, man.
Right? Safi edits, 2 a.m., you know, deal you trying to render service from midnight and it's 8 a.m. and it still isn't right.
It's not uploaded yet.
And now we get the guys, stay tuned for a special service at 6 p.m. tonight. Stay tuned for a special service at 6 p.m. tonight. And then you're like, I don't know what's going on. Your internet ain't uploading fast enough. And then, you know, it comes back to that person who ain't got nothing to do in production to come and say, you see, this is why we should have gone live faster. This is why we should have gone live.
Yeah, it's
I think it's, you know, church ministry should have real conversations. And I think this what we're doing here is, I guess, it's kind of start. And it's really good because I think we're still missing, a lot of churches, ministry is still missing some key things that they should be doing. But it kind of goes back to what's happening now with churches that we're seeing in this pandemic is the same thing that has been happening for the longest while. Church is kind of like one of the few organizations that always take forever to learn things and put it in motion, right? So like it's kind of like, it's just a weird space to be in as you know, as a ministry. You know, you can't.
I have something to say to
I'm
that.
trying to.
Man, I want to hear from Safi, man. Safi been quiet.
But
Okay,
I
go
think
ahead.
though the reason why, again, and I'm gonna make it a black and white thing.
Yes.
White churches, they hire people in those industries to work at certain things in their church.
Yes, that is always good.
That's
Come
what it
on,
comes
man.
down to.
Come on, man.
That's what it
So
comes
you
down
trying to say my black church don't want to hire people?
No, but in most cases, no.
No.
And the reality is, if you're going to be very,
Speak, brother, speak.
this platform is allowing me to say something. I don't like this. No, but in you know, to be very, very honest, if you will be, that comes back to culture, right?
Culture.
You know, we're gonna suffer for a minute. And really quick,
Why
let's go-
can't deal when I can get them for free, right?
Yeah, and let's even go back really quick to a question that you had asked earlier about should we invest in production and equipment and people? Coming up, when I was younger in Guyana, it was never a conversation about investing in drums or keyboards or whatever. It's always the people, like whatever you got to do to get the people. It was never a conversation of production, and a lot of ministries are still stuck in that era. And things have moved forward. But yeah, Safi, you were saying something about something coming?
Yeah, man, and tell us like what you anticipate for 2021. You think
Yeah, we have
we're gonna go back to normal or?
I'm
Like
sitting
when
here
you do-
listening to the production conversation and the post production, and my church has benefited from it. I feel that
From Post?
from post,
Okay.
I feel that it even levels, as you say, you don't need a massive production team as some of these large churches. It somewhat levels the playing field in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But there will come a time where things do go back to normal. And I think church needs to meet. It's people gathering and meeting.
Definitely.
So even though like there are ways for us to take advantage of post, whether it be maybe at some point churches do have to get back together and commune, like
Because it's
be a-
scriptural.
right?
Yeah.
You know, so we have to have that fellowship, right? So I love what post has done. I think it's something that will stay. Maybe when I think about Sundays, so let's say, who knows what 2021 is going to look like, right? So let's say 2022, we're all assuming things go back to, things have shifted, but somewhat normal, right? I think about what does that look like from a church, because you're going to have to go, maybe it's a situation where if you're a smaller church, because I'm thinking about maybe from the lens of my church, where it's, you don't go live, you guys meet together, and then maybe you take that Sunday service and chop it up after, and then you put it out as an evening service.
Yeah.
Something along those lines where it's like a mix, right? Because I think if you're not online, you almost don't exist in this new age, right? So you have to have content online to communicate that message of the gospel and to reach people and to grow, right? We're all online. We all have our phones. Our phones, that's the new way we communicate. And if you're not on there, it's almost like you don't exist, right? So we have to think about content, like, and in a sense, it's really just documenting that process in a way that is of a quality. And once you've done that, it's just figuring out different creative ways to get that messaging out there, right? But yeah, I think we're all figuring it out. I don't have a
specific thing.
yeah, I can't tie a bow on it as to this is what it'll look like or this is what it will be. But I do think post is here to stay, and it is going to take. It's going to do a lot of shaping what the content will look like for churches, because we all have to be online.
Yeah.
So,
And I think just like on a bigger scale,
Even let me say, I was on Instagram yesterday, and I saw a really, really dope ad from a friend's church. And if I didn't have my own church, like if I would want to visit that church.
Send it to me.
So I gotta kudos to my brother over here.
Okay.
For what they got going on.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I think, like I said, on a bigger scale, post-production is allowing churches to do more. Like I look at a church like Potter's House, TD Jakes. Yo, my man's coming out with these sermonettes every single day of the week. But that's because now he doesn't have to spend his entire week preparing for Sunday. He can do his Sunday sermon during the course of another day of the week. But now he can do other things and that's like, again, the church.
and that's also relief on the pastor too, right?
And the team, their structure. You don't have to have, everybody in the building on a Sunday anymore. You can do different things during different days of the week. Like I know some churches, the worship team will record, 3 sets for the month, one day, and then like throughout the course of the weeks, the pastor's doing the sermon. And then you can do other things now. You can record, if your church has a vibrant worship team, you can record worship covers. You can do, like TD Jakes, those 1-minute videos that he puts up on Instagram. Like there's so much different things that you can do where you can now shift the focus. Because, and as we're talking about production, let's talk about how the algorithm for YouTube and Instagram is changing.
Yes.
That's another part we have to talk about as well. It's getting likes is not what's bringing you to the top of that feed anymore. That's it. It's people that are saving, people that are writing comments, people that are
Spending time.
right.
How much time they
Spending
spend.
time, how much time they spend.
There we go. So now these are all things you have to incorporate in now, because your branding your church is not about your location anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You can have the biggest church building, but if you have no effect online on all these platforms, and your production quality on these platforms aren't up to par, then it's in vain.
So we all used to go to church live. I mean, we're still Christians. We still go to church, right? And we saying things are shifting. Before, we used to endure the 2-hour church service, the 3-hour church service. I know some churches.
4 services on a Sunday.
I was engineering at a service for 5 hours one time, right?
That's a lot of Jesus.
That's a lot of Holy Spirit. I came out white as snow.
Yeah, that's a good point. When I play at churches and when I fill in, one of the first questions I ask is how long the service.
Yeah.
So now with this, right, and of course the attention spans of people is also shifted. How long should the church service be, right? Because guess what? I could sit on my phone during the pandemic. I could log on to your church,
Real quick. Yep.
watch the worship,
Yep.
jump to his church, watch the preaching. And so you know what? It's 11 o'clock. I ain't done with church yet. Let me jump on to his.
Tighten offering over us.
You know, Cash App,
Cash App.
Zelle,
We got you.
church,
We got you. Yeah.
You know? But I find out that to sit and watch a 2.5 hour, 3 hour service, that
That's. I mean, if it's live, I feel like hour and a half, 2 hours max. But
that's
if
a
it's
good time.
post production,
Yeah.
you know, I say anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. I don't even think an hour is like needed, but 45 minutes, 50 minutes ish for post. You know, I know some churches that like, but the thing is, they like flow in the Holy Spirit, and so like even though it's a post production service, it's still like a 3 hour long service.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm watching it because I'm attracted to that things of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So I'll sit there and I'm like, oh, this pastor, he's flowing today. Like, but the thing is, I don't have to like sit down and watch. I can put it on my TV, have my surround sound playing, and just walk around my house.
and do what you gotta do and listen.
So it all varies on what it is you value. And that's the thing, you know, in terms of like, you know, now the analytical side, and I know we're jumping from production to, you know, branding, marketing, and analytics, but, you know, on the analytical side, knowing what your consumer is looking for and then how the production aspect is tying to what it is they're looking for. And here's what I mean by that, right? So before the pandemic, you know, when I would talk with pastors and worship leaders and directors about, you know, sound and about lighting and things like that, I always said, listen, who are you targeting? Why are you targeting them? And if they give their response and say, okay, this set of people, they're spending $250 to go see Beyonce. You know how I know? I'm one of those people, right? They'll see Beyonce for $250, right? But what do you get when you go see Beyonce? You can sit up as high as you want, as low as you want. The quality of that show is not changing.
Yeah.
Right? The lighting, the music, the sound, the visuals is going to be on point. We offer a message of something greater than what Beyonce has to offer. Aim to tell me we can't get two 12-inch subs to put in to put the bass a little thump in the floor, like.
And Dale, I'm a steal Dale's line, right? The king of all kings requires excellence, right?
I said that?
Well, I'm saying it now, right? So don't worry. I
this.
okay, right? Dale said that, right? You can't remember that? Dale said the king of all kings requires excellence,
I'm
right?
appreciating that, like, you know, being able to have the opportunity to be in, you know, the music industry and seeing how things work on that side. I'm just like, yo, we can definitely give the church, because we have the skill, we have the people.
Yep,
we can give the same attention in church as well. But it goes back to the, you know, the standards that are set. Well, you know, they're volunteers, so we don't want to put too much extra work or pressure on them. I'm just like, nah, bro, that's not. I disagree with that. Like, if it's a choice.
Yes, it is.
If people make a choice to volunteer and you set the guideline and parameter of what it is that you need them to do, then that's it.
That's it.
No questions asked.
I agree.
All right. So you said, I like the point that you brought up.
Time out. No, I can't just let that slide. So have you dealt with people that have pushed back, or how do you deal with people that are volunteering that you feel that you may not be getting?
So you want to hear something crazy? In my experience, it hasn't been the people who have given the pushback. It's been the leaders at the top who have given the pushback for them.
Next question.
Dale,
I want to say, okay.
Dale, speak, man, speak.
You've experienced the same thing?
Pushback? Yeah, from both volunteers and leaders. But what he's saying makes a lot of sense. Because most times when you actually get down to it, the volunteers are not really, they're volunteering. You know, they're volunteering. And leaders, for whatever reason, more than likely don't understand what's happening. Back again, we go back to that point. Right? But my thing is, even if I'm working with a ministry and I'm getting pushback from the volunteers, I've learned to have conversations with them. I want to know what's up. Maybe you actually don't like working the cameras. Mm-hmm. Let me know what you like to do.
There we go.
Lock it in,
That's
let's get to work.
That's true.
To figure it out. You're a volunteer. I'm not going to say, hey, but you have to do this. No, let me know what you want to do. Whatever it is, just make sure that you're good with it, and then we're going to get to work. So conversations helps a lot of times. talking with volunteers. I can't remember what the question was. You just kind of, well, we talking, right? So,
But yeah, we just
Yeah.
talking. With the same point I was telling you with Dale requiring, not Dale requiring, but Jesus requiring excellence. But Dale requires excellence too,
yeah,
right?
we gonna work together, yes.
Don't let him sit there and fool you. He requires excellence too, all right? And you talking about spending $250 to see Beyonce, and no matter where you sit, it's the same experience. And I think that comes back to the question that I got, right? Is preparation, right? How do we prepare, and how important is preparation, right? Because guess what? Like, I love watching, like me and my wife, man, we would go and we would watch the behind the scenes of everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she was never really like into that, but of course, you know, she married us. She signed up for that when she said I do. You know,
That's it.
that was in the fine print of the marriage certificate. But we would watch the behind the scenes of everything, and you see these people taking. We got 3 months. Of course, right? This is their full-time job, right?
Right.
And of course, this is why we're talking about managing expectations a little bit, right? These people full-time jobs, so they're spending, let's say, 5 hours a day for 3 months rehearsing with the band, right? Beyonce, Coachella, and then we got this amount of rehearsals for this, right? But then when you look at it, she spent a whole year preparing for 1 hour of a performance, right? Some of our friends that we might know in connections with that are professional athletes, right? How long does LeBron train to play a specific timing? But when we come to church and it comes to preparation and we want to do a concert, all right, guys, in 2 weeks we want to do a concert and we're going to practice every Friday for an hour.
Nonsense.
People gonna call you for that.
We're going to practice for an hour.
That ain't gonna work.
Right? And then say, I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. Man, don't worry, man. Next year we gonna be.
Next year.
Next year, man. Next year we gonna get better. I mean, if God requires us to put out excellence and perform at an excellent level, how important is preparation given the fact that we know we got volunteers? Yo, maybe you got a concert happening in May, right? Smart thing to do. Start rehearsals now.
That's right.
Right? Because I don't have 8 months, 5 hours a day. I got 2 hours on a Friday. And then as we get closer, maybe depending on the people's availability, I can squeeze in another day. But I gotta.
I'm gonna make another ouch statement.
Go ahead, brother. Ouch.
It again, it's what leadership at the top values.
Simple.
That's like I said, I've been in church my whole life, and so what I've seen, the good and the bad, there's a lot of great that I've seen, but there's a lot of bad that I've seen, and so the bad that I've seen is what the people who sit at the top, who make those big decisions, they allow. And so, and sometimes it could be as simple as, the pastor sending his sermon notes to the person who's doing ProPresenter. Churches on Sunday, they're sending it Friday night. So of course now when things you've been in that situation. I've heard situations like that.
I've heard
Like I'm just like that's crazy, because it's if you're putting in that limited amount of time to make sure the person who has to do the job, they're prepared, then it's just like if somebody says, "Oh, let's just do this tomorrow," like, all right, cool, let's do it tomorrow, like, because you like that last minute life.
Yeah.
And so, but I've in great situations, like, I've been in situations where you say, like, I have an idea, like, I think we can do this, in a 3 to 4 month window.
Yeah.
No, you know what? We could do it, but let's do 6 months. Like, let's make sure, like, we cross our T's, dot our I's, and make sure everything is great in that 6 month window. let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's also, you know, there's both sides to it. But I think, you know, just simply it's the top is what the top allows. With the leadership, pastors, you know, what they deem as acceptable.
Yeah, I think I was having a conversation with a ministry, and they were thinking about how they kind of restructure their communication / marketing team. And I was sharing with the pastor, and I was telling him, like, in the strategy meetings that you guys gonna have, it's very important that you have somebody from communications and marketing a part of those meetings, right? Or any audio. I mean, it goes for anything, you know, music, whatever. Let us be a part of those conversations so we could give wise counsel. I'm watching my words here, right? Because most times, like you said, at the top, they're at the top. It's, you know, it's like, hey, we could do this. They don't know any better.
Right. We need it for Sunday.
Yeah, we need it for Sunday.
Nah,
Really,
that
this is
can't
going to
happen.
take like 3-4 weeks to put together, right? And then when it's not done properly, and then, you know, it comes back to them really understanding their brand and how. Yeah, man. It's one of those things, man.
It's you know, just that statement. Church is an onion. There's so much layers, especially in the post-pandemic world that we live in. Like the production, the branding, the analytical, the marketing. There's so much that's just going into this, and I think, you know, beyond the production aspect, I think it's something that we're all still figuring out. You know, I know a lot of churches, especially global churches, they knew what they wanted their brand and stuff to be. But I still feel like even with the pandemic, they also had to figure out how to shift some things. Because, all right, you know, like a church like Hillsong, all right, we can't have 20,000 people in the church anymore. Like, how do we scale that? Right, how do we scale that? Like, you know, we do online services, but, you know, our field is based on the people that are in the room. Like, how do we get the same effect with less people? So I just think we're all in the same cycle of just making sure that we can, you know, do things to the standard that we're setting for ourselves.
Yeah, I think just listening to you guys talk, I'm loving everything you guys are saying. For me, the three big leadership, it starts with leadership. Their vision, what is the vision for the church? And has that been communicated to everyone?
Of course.
I think leadership, having the vision, and then communicating that, and everyone staring in the same direction, I think that takes care of production, that takes care of marketing, that takes care of first-time visitors, it takes care of a lot, all of the ministries. And sometimes I feel like the vision is there, but sometimes only the people at the top know what the vision is. Right?
That's typical,
So the communication, it has to be trickled down, and then it has to be, I should be able to pull a child from Sunday school and ask them, hey, what's your church's mission?
You should know that.
And if they don't know, if the children in the church can't tell me, then there's a disconnect happening. And I think a lot of our churches are guilty of that, right?
But then let's go backwards, right? When a lot of these pastors started their church, they never thought of having to be a brand manager.
Exactly. Oh, say that again right there. Yeah, we could talk about that for them. Yeah.
And so that is now a crucial point in this post-pandemic world that we're living in.
Right.
Is like I said, you could have the largest block, the church on the block, but if you're not targeting certain things online, it's all for nothing.
Yeah, you'll fade.
And I think that is a bigger picture, you know, problem, you know, after production or before production, is just like, yo, what is our brand? What is the makeup of our brand? Who are we targeting? You know, are we looking for singles? Are we looking for families? Like, what do we want our church to represent? What is our mission statement? And I think a lot of, you know,
and that's how you have impact in the community.
Yeah, there we go.
I think I'll let Dale, because this is a good question, right? Because you talk about who are we targeting? How does a church know who they should be targeting? So I'm gonna see if you've said this, right? Because I've heard from Terrence that you've said this one thing.
Oh, come on, man. Don't man, sometimes
Let me see if this rings a bell, right?
Oh, wow.
Looking at your congregation will tell you who you're actually trying to target.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's something that for churches out there that are trying to figure out who's my target audience. Yes, you can want to grow outside of that. Yeah, you can look at your church and say, yeah, I want to target more young people. I feel like we need more young people. But when you look at your church, that will tell you who you're currently targeting, right? The people that are actually in there right now.
Yeah. Okay, I know like our church, it's not just going to be for young people. We're having a traditional, like a hybrid situation, right? You have the young ones, they have the older folks, the seniors are there, and they're there in large numbers. So there's no way it wouldn't make sense for me to kind of squeeze leadership or my dad as a pastor to kind of change the brand to target just young individuals. What we could do is create content that could potentially take our vision and say, hey, this is our message in this way for you. Yeah. Right? So looking at your congregation, definitely, yeah, that would definitely tell you, man.
Oh my gosh.
No, you got me thinking about that.
No, because you
Well, guys, I don't mean to cut y'all,
Oh my
but
gosh.
That's it?
we are out of time today. Right?
Oh, man.
And
Let me just say this. Let me
All right,
just
so
get this
after
one
he
last
says
thing.
this last point, we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this. Make sure you guys continue to follow us. But
We had the conversation earlier about, I'll be quick too, about how long your church service should be, right?
Yeah.
And we had, I think for the most part, we all have our preference, us being young, knowing that attention spans are shorter. I think we all like that 60 to 90 minute range. But to be honest, I think any church can have a 3 hour, 4 hour, like if that's your audience, if they're sticking around for that, it sounds crazy. But what I think all churches should now be considering and looking to do is in this new age, that 5 hour service, you can have a 5 minute moment, a 2 minute moment, an amazing prayer, just a quick sermon, a snippet, a piece of the worship that can then be repurposed for different audiences, different demographics, right? For some young people, it might be the worship that catches their ear and gets them to at least check out as to what's going on. And you can take 2 minutes of your worship and put that out there, and then the word brand managing, you start targeting that younger audience, that younger demographic. Go ahead, and then we'll leave it. But
So you brought up a point that I've been saying to leaders and people for years, and a lot of pastors don't like hearing this because they're like, it's a bruised ego thing. But music is what brings people into the church. The word is what keeps them. Right? And so, and that goes back to what I said about like the Beyonce thing. Is just like, if your music is not on point and it's not popping, people not gonna want to come. Like they want to come, like especially if they're giving up an old lifestyle, they want to come and they want to be in something where they could still have fun, where they could, feel the music will make them feel something. And so I feel like, if the music is not on point, then it's gonna be hard. They're not gonna hear past that.
They're not sticking around.
And it goes back to production. If the quality, some churches come on my YouTube feed, I press play. If within the first 2 minutes the quality is subpar, next. And that's just me, because I know what I'm attracted to.
Right,
I know what I value as a consumer.
Yeah.
So.
Yo, you heard it from the experts. But
Oh, man.
stick around for part 2.
So I think, in terms of, it's not just the people don't want to do the work. I think, again, on a culture basis, it's just like, well, you're here, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that's the difference in why people choose not to serve. Because and I approach any situation that I do, any church that I work at, I say, okay, I'm getting paid to do this, but ultimately I'm here to serve.
Serve, yeah.
So if I have an idea that I think would benefit the overall construct of what we're doing, I'm going to offer that opinion because my objective is here to serve, not to just, sit
Get
in
a
a
check
pig. Right, exactly.
And that's
You're pastor's kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, like, yo, same
We're here to
wavelength.
serve. I'm happy for the check, but we're here to serve. Oh my God.
The thing is, though, but
That's us, yeah.
It's
Totally agree with you.
It's,
Yeah.
Nah, and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna get my bread.
We will. But it's
But
not.
the thing is, it's
not the main thing,
you gotta
probably.
look at bigger picture.
Yeah.
And if our mindset is kingdom,
Yeah.
like sometimes you gotta be like,
Yeah.
I'll invest a couple more minutes just so because it's at the end of the day, the bigger picture is the kingdom. And sometimes in the conversation I have with my wife, like I have to just always remind myself of that, just like because now that you got a family, like things just change a lot. Like it's just like, y'all want me to do what at what time and where? But then sometimes just like even like personally, one of my friends, he's helping out a church like build up their whole situation. And so he's just like, all right, T, like, I need you to come in and service is only an hour, but can you play, but this is all they can give you. And I said, bro, I got you. I was like, I wasn't doing anything at that time, so making, some extra dollars. But the thing is, I see the vision. And if the pastors at that church are willing to invest, they redid their whole sound system. It's not a big church. But the fact that they are taking the steps
forward.
They bought a camera. He recommended that they buy a B3 Hammond. They went out and they bought a B3 Hammond. So it's just like, all right. When I hear that, I'm just like, okay, they're invested in the bigger picture of what it is that they're doing. So if they can invest that, I can invest an hour of my day to help them with whatever they need help with.
Totally agree.
And so that I think is where the mindset is. Of creatives who are like-minded like us, it's just like, oh, if people are willing to put in the time and the investment, I can invest the time as well because I see what they're trying to do.
And then too, coming out of that, relationships are important. They're not gonna let you go. Hey, man. Hey, man. No, but if we be very, very honest, that relationship is what's kind of keeping us through this pandemic right now. Right? Now we're getting all these calls like, hey man, can you
do this?
Hey,
Can you do that?
Yes, relationships, right? So, going that extra mile, like TC was saying, and really understanding, yes, it's ministry, yes, you're still paying and all of that stuff, but if I could give you that extra 5-10 minutes or whatever the case may be, especially if they have a good heart. For pastors that are not nice, I don't know, are we talking about that? We have our experience. We'll talk afterwards.
So if you wanted to say something?
Nah, man, I agree with what these guys are saying. I was thinking that, you're gonna make me blank again. What you got to say, man?
I'm just taking it in. I'm here for the ride, man. I'm here for the ride. I mean, like when you said something with kingdom, right? I think sometimes, and Dale also said this too, right? I hear y'all say it in this conversation, y'all pointed out the word kingdom, right? But sometimes I think the church might just focus on the church, right? The church is just focused on the church and not the bigger picture of the kingdom, right? And in production, like, you're not getting a X32 for me, yeah? You're not getting an X32 for me. I'm not mixing for me, I'm trying to go beyond these four walls.
Yeah.
And I think the pandemic has pushed us beyond the four walls.
Yeah, whether we like it,
right? Whether we like it or not. And I can't remember who I was listening to, but they made a huge point. It's like sometimes the church was trapped inside the four walls when the man who started the ministry that we follow never had a church. He was out there in the street.
Yeah.
Right? So I think like this like leads me into my next question for you guys. Like, it's called Smiles and Frowns, right? Like, where do you guys get your inspiration from, right? We heard local churches. Is it bigger base churches? And what is your reaction after you see it, right? So for me, I like to watch church productions. I like to watch anything production quality that I know that's gonna be nice, right? I watch Kez the band. I watch whoever's doing a live show. I'm gonna tune in and watch it. If they doing a behind the scenes, I watch Positive TNT behind the scenes, and he did a production and then he filmed it as he went behind the scenes and stuff. And I really like that stuff, right? So I grab my inspiration from there. Sometimes it causes me to frown, I'll be honest, right? Because I gotta have a reality check, right? Right? I gotta have this reality check of, you like what you see,
Yeah.
right? You like that Tesla over there, but buddy, you were driving a 4-speed Civic, right? Or you're inside a 4-speed Civic. What is the best I can get out of this Civic? It's not saying that, the Civic is not good, but it all boils back to managing expectations.
See, I'm a car guy, so you bringing this car now.
Oh, man.
with the Tesla, it's going to come with all the bells and whistles that you need. With the Civic, the beauty about having a tuner car is that you can make modifications to your specifications.
Preach fast.
So now you can.
That's a word.
If you want a kind of turbo in your car, perfect. In your Civic, you can go through a whole bunch of different aftermarket brands. But with Tesla, you better not put an aftermarket brand.
Yeah, I'll mess the car up.
Exactly. So so you gotta manage, as we talked about at the beginning, manage your expectations. So you see what you have. My executive pastor at the church that I currently go to, she's always great about telling me when we have to build things and stuff like that. Okay, you have this idea, you see this. How do we scale it to our level?
Correct.
Yes.
That is we were emailing to speak about some stuff that we're getting ready to do for Easter, and talking about drawing inspiration. I love to learn, so I have a lot of different resources that I look to draw inspiration from. And so I said, okay, I found about 4 or 5 different things, and I said, okay, this is what I want us to do in terms of our stage display setup for Easter. And she's like, okay, she saw one. She's like, I really like this one. Can you get me more information about how we can scale it to our stage? And I'm like, all right, perfect. Had the dimensions, everything written out for her. Boom, 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 sent it. Okay, perfect. And today she's like, we can move forward with what we have to do. So it's all about managing, your expectation and scaling it into what you're able to do. And I think that's the biggest part. So, one of the resources I love to watch is Churchfront with Jake Gosling.
Shout out to Jake, man.
Shout out to Jake.
Shout out to Jake.
He's the guy.
He's the man. But what I love about what he does is that he'll show you Red Rocks, he'll show you Bethel, he'll show you all these big churches, but then he's showing you churches that are relatable to my church.
Yes.
Right.
And it's the things, they're not making major changes, but it's minor things where they can have major impact in how they're communicating the message.
Yeah.
And I think that is the thing we have to look at.
So besides Jake, right? Because all of us draw inspiration from Jake.
Yeah.
Right? Where else do you grab inspiration
Worship Leader
from?
Hangout.
Of course.
I love that guy.
Come
That
on,
guy
man.
is amazing.
Come on, man.
Mr. DIY, man.
That's it, yo. You already know. I love that guy. There's another one called Church Stage Designs Ideas.com.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another good one.
And those guys, I'm just like, yo, their network is so large because all the churches, big or small, that they have access to,
We're trying to get on that.
that post every week, and I'm just like, yo, what the heck? How much people do y'all know? But it's just and again, it goes back to, you stated earlier, relationships. That's a key part. And I think now with being online, it's just I can literally, and I almost had to do this. I have a friend who lives in Texas, and when we were doing post-production services, yo, bro, I need you to play bass on, some songs for me. Here's the format, here's everything, here's what we recorded, bounce it down, play bass and send me back the files when we're done. And now that we're in this world, like I can have the best gospel session bass player play bass on a gospel song that we do for service. I mean, we gotta make sure the bread is right, but
Yeah, that part.
but he doesn't have to be
Yeah.
in the same room as our other musicians to get the job done.
Correct. What about you, Saf? Where you grab inspiration from to do what you do?
I think the first thing is just understanding that with this digital age, comparison is the thief of joy, right? You can be having a
told me this on the
good
phone the other
day.
day.
So,
I'm telling
so
you,
that's
man.
the smiles and frowns, right? That's the
smiles and
smiles.
frowns, right?
That's the smiles and frowns right there.
Because you can be feeling good about, okay, yeah, what you're doing, and then you go out to see what else is out there, and you can feel like, all right, just throw everything away, right?
Yeah.
But once you manage that part, right, that like, okay, this is a necessary part of growth.
Yeah.
Seeing what's out there,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out how you can scale it to what my infrastructure or what my church limitations are. In terms of what those platforms are, I draw inspiration from everywhere. It's just the way my mind is wired now. Anything creative, I'm trying to see, oh, that's the behind the scenes camera. Like they might just cut to a shot, not thinking it's a big deal. Best believe I'm pausing the screen. Okay, that camera is there, that light is there. So it could be from the most local of local productions
To the biggest.
to HBO.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I draw inspiration. My mind is always looking from that production perspective now. So I honestly get inspiration from everywhere. I'm always looking and just making my notes, making my screenshots, and
I know this was a question on one of Dale's live videos. Somebody asked him, but I don't think he answered it. So this is why I get to ask you live on camera again. Where does he grab his inspiration from, especially with his graphics and all these things?
You would be surprised. You guys Pastor Jamal Bryant, he's in Atlanta. New Birth. You guys remember when Bishop Eddie Long was there?
Yep.
Right.
I used to watch his program every single day. I just love the branding because I know that's where our church was heading. It was never going to be dark walls with LED. It was going to feel like a church, but modern enough to kind of be a part of everything that's happening now.
Yeah.
Right. So study that stuff. Love it. I know they're doing some crazy stuff right now. Lots of movies. Lots of movies, and listening to different styles of music every day. Every day, I would listen to a different genre of music.
So here's a fun fact about Dale, right?
Oh, wow.
Here's a hidden treasure, right? Everybody knows Dale to be a creator and build computers and all these things, right? But Dale can actually play drums and play keys.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people don't know that musical side. And key bass, right? I got footage of him playing key bass.
Delete it, man. Don't.
Right?
No,
So
but, you know,
Dale
it's
is
just-
very musical too.
Yeah, because I came up in a computer graphics background. So if you look at our church live stream, and I mentioned this to you and you before, we're graphics heavy.
Okay.
We don't have amazing lighting and best cameras and all that stuff, but we try to make the graphics the thing.
Engaging.
That's where we're good at, right? So if you look at it, you're like, oh, there's a lot of movements and stuff, and motors and all that.
No,
different
that's
stuff,
true.
right? So
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's my strong point. I'm the one that's there. So there's no way you will see us trying to do something that is not us. So inspiration, yeah, movies, definitely those guys over there, and anything creative, man. I'm always looking anything with spark. We're creators, so
That's it. Yeah, the smallest
You know,
thing you
yeah,
can
yeah,
draw
yeah.
inspiration from.
yeah.
So for me, right, as an audio engineer, I listen to a lot of music and a lot of movies, right? And I find like a lot of engineers coming up, their job is to listen, right? But they spend so much time moving faders and turning knobs that they don't, that their job is to listen, right? But they're doing all these other things that takes away from the listening.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time listening, man. I know my wife is going to be watching this. She'll tell you, my daughter would tell you, she's like, Daddy, why do you have to play that song again? Why do you play that song over and over and over? Because I'm listening to different things in the music, right? And where and how these other engineers place things and stuff like that. So some of the YouTube channels I got hit is Mixing with the Masters, MXU. You know, I follow a lot of the guys who are really doing nice stuff around the world as engineers, you know, and searching for different projects. But I spend a lot of time listening and hearing other people who are greater than myself talk about the things that they listen for. Right? Not necessarily the things that they turn the knobs and do, but what is it they're listening for and their mindset behind it.
I'm fascinated by the thinking process always of anyone that's really good in the industry. I always like one person that I would love to, you know, we've done with music that I would love to sit and talk just to try to figure out is Quincy Jones. I got so many questions. I just want to ask. I got some things to ask about that Michael Jackson album.
Thriller album.
Yeah, the Thriller.
I want to know, like,
I got questions
why?
too.
Yeah. How? You know, what was that? That is fascinating to me. And I think sometimes, you know, come back to church, we don't spend the time to really educate ourselves. And these departments that we are in charge of or create.
Especially when you listen to these records, right? Like,
Of course.
You would sit there and think, oh my gosh, I love this reverb, right? Not knowing these guys got 4 or 5 different reverbs doing different things at different times that's creating one sound. And now I'm placed in front of this X32 with one reverb. You gotta understand, look, buddy, you're not gonna get the sound that you hear.
It's not happening.
But you still have a responsibility to make it work.
Of course.
Right? And understand how far you can take it. Okay, I can take it this far. If you want this, we got to take this from here and dump it into Pro Tools or dump it into Logic, and then we could take it a step further.
I agree.
After that.
And then too, I don't know, I guess you have more questions. How big of a role self-awareness plays in what we do? For instance, you might have the guy that knows everything but really don't know everything, but is not aware that he's dumb in that particular, let's use a different word, he's not as experienced in that area, right? How much of self-awareness plays out for you guys, Terrence, DC? Are you guys checking yourself on a regular, like, you know?
I think it's extremely important to not only evaluate yourself,
Right.
but the people on your team. I think even going back to the like investing in people, when you see people that have like, especially like the young ones too, they have an interest in something, you shouldn't feel threatened by that. It should excite you, and you should do everything you can to
Cultivate that gift.
and create a leader in that space, right? So I mean, I'm constantly evaluating myself, but evaluating the people that God has placed
Around you to work
around me.
Okay.
And for me is you guys, right? Is the people that everybody is not seeing behind the cameras, right?
Yeah.
They check me, right?
Yeah.
And and they check me, and I check in with them. Yo, what do you think about this mix, right?
Yeah.
And I remember a friend of mine. Big shout out to Jude, man. Right? Big shout out to Jude. Right? I remember a time I sent Jude a reggae mix. Jude immediately responds and say, yo, this ain't reggae. This is not reggae. This is not it.
Not in it.
This is not it. This is not the feel. No, it's clear. It sounds good,
Yeah, but not in it.
but it's not reggae. Right? So I was like, I can admit it hurt, right? Because I was like, what you mean it's not reggae? He's like, nah, you need to go back and study a little bit more and try this thing again.
Yeah.
Right? But that's why I got people around me who could be honest with me,
Yes.
right? And also look at myself and say, all right, yo, and say, yo, it wasn't reggae. Don't go and argue back with the person and say, nah, he don't know what he talking about. No. He knows what he's talking about, right? Let me take an honest look at this thing and say, all right, yo, a lapse here, right? Cool. Let's revisit this in 3 months. Let's put some work in. Let's put some grind in. 3-4 months. Send him back another mix. And he's like, you blaze this. You've been practicing, right? And that's it. I mean, you gotta. I remember TD Jake saying, yo, to have a good machine, you gotta have some well-oiled parts and the right parts around you, man. If everybody is tapping you on your back and telling you, good job, good job, good job, something wrong, you gotta have some people to say, yo, you.
Yeah. But that's how the church has grown us to be.
Yep.
I mean, that's a church thing. Corporate America don't operate like that.
Not at all.
And some of the same individuals that operated in that spirit of tapping on the shoulders in church, they don't operate like that at work. You know, that's a church thing, and it's devastating. It's holding us back. It's killing production, progress, everything. Right? You can't correct individuals. I don't understand. But still in the church that I'm working with, I said I'm going to be tough on you. I'm going to lead in love. But correction is going to be right next to it, right there, right there. So you can get it, but correction is going to be right now. Love and correction, hand in hand.
That's it.
You know,
if they understand that, then you're in a good situation.
Yeah.
Then we can grow.
Yes, we can.
And I think also growth too. I know you had said something about evaluation of the people that serve under you, but I think as a leader, if you I can't tell you to do something that I don't know how to do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in this tech age, as a musician, as a worship director at my church, I'm not gonna tell somebody to do something that I can't do for myself.
Yeah.
Right. Even something. We have a broadcast engineer for our live streams. I kind of know what he knows how to do already. He's great at it, but I have basic function of how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. If we need, I've been in a situation where we've recording stuff for Christmas. I've had to jump on one of the cameras. It's just I'm not going to tell you to do something that I can't do for myself, because as a leader, you want to show people that you can, get in the trenches with them. If something happens, if there's a misstep, all right, you know what? I can help you fix this. I know exactly how we can do to turn this around, because, especially when you're dealing with volunteers, especially, where I'm serving, most of our volunteers are young, especially when it comes to camera work. So I'm just we got to make sure that we can guide them and just be like, you'll figure it out. Nah, because we've grown up where they told us to figure it out, and it's just it blew up, and it's just so it's just no, this is the best way to approach it. This is how to do it. What we've been doing is we've been having young people interested, and so throughout service they're following the camera people, they're walking with them, looking at the screen, looking at what's happening, and so it's just
And not to also double back, right? And we were talking about something I like, right? Iron sharpening iron, right? Right? We sharpen this way, but another way you gotta sharpen is that way, up and down, right? People who are on your level but are gifted in other areas than you, right? There's a part that you gotta recognize too. That Terrence, you're not the best person, right? You gotta put people on your team who's better than you in certain things, right? Put yourself around people who are strong in their perspective things, right?
Humility.
But then also get somebody who is in your field, who is better than you, to help sharpen you as well. Definitely. So I went and I got a critique from one of my peers, but then I also took that and got a critique from somebody who is above us, right? To give a check, thumbs up, or a thumbs down, and critique me in love or correct me in love. And then show me what is the next step.
Right.
But I think a lot of time in church production, we stay here, right? We stay here and we don't look to here because we know we don't want to face that correction when you start to look up to somebody.
But a lot of
who is
churches
better.
still don't know how to separate production from it's production. So if I'm telling you that the lighting is wrong, has nothing to do with you personally. The light is wrong. Change it. Me personally, I don't have the patience. Wow, I don't have the patience. I'm telling you, we're live. I'm not having a discussion with you whether we should change it or not. Especially if I'm the service producer or whatever. I'm telling you to change it. We can have the conversation afterwards. It has nothing to do with you personally. So what I do when I'm building teams is that, look, it's a kingdom thing. This is our brand or this is our vision, whatever the case may be, let's work with it this way. Anything outside of it, let's get rid of it. So if I'm telling you to do something, hey, give me a tighter shot, do this, whatever the case may be, don't pull on the mic like, hey, Dale, you sure? I'll not. What? What? If I'm sure. Okay. Now, but church needs to understand, and then to bring in a production element into a worship environment. A lot of churches still trying to balance it out because some people think production is the devil. It's lights and cameras and it's dark and fog. That's the devil right there.
Some
Stumping. What? That's crazy.
Give me some thumbs. Please.